Good morning, world. Welcome to another episode of Independently Minded. If you are a new or returning listener, I hope you enjoy this episode. If you're interested in more content like this, stay tuned because it's only going to get better from here. Make sure you stay tuned and you get active because I'm staying active on all the major podcast platforms, and I'm also active on YouTube and BitChute. I got on BitChute recently because YouTube's terms of service is starting to get really shady. It's been shady for a while, but I'm just looking to have a kind of a backup plan because I plan on podcasting for as long as it's fun, and I don't see it getting not fun anytime soon. But don't forget, the world is in our hands. Let's do something with it. So on today's episode of MMA Minded, man, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to MMA and boxing, UFC, Bellator, One, Glory, all that stuff. There's a lot to talk about. It's a very exciting time right now, and that's the reason why I've just been posting a lot of MMA Minded episodes. But so for this episode particularly, I wanted to just discuss my three personal picks or biggest possibilities for GSP opponents if he was to come back. The third one I've been thinking about a lot, and it's probably the least likely, but it's something that's possible, and I would like to see myself because I'm not a Kamaru Usman fan, but I would like to see, and I think it'd be possible for George St. Pierre to come back and challenge Kamaru Usman for the welterweight strap. The reason I say that this is unlikely is because George has said multiple times, he's told Faraz has told a lot of people like Joe Rogan, ESPN reporters, MMA reporters, MMA websites, and then George has also told Joe Rogan himself that if he is to come back, he wants to do something monumental, something that's never been done before, and what he's pretty much had in mind and what Joe Rogan had considered and suggested is, what about going to 155, cutting down to 155 and trying to become the first fighter to ever be champion in 3 different weight classes, and that he's welcome to the idea. Faraz Zahabi is also open to the idea, I believe, but I'm just not sure if that's even going to happen. I'll go into that later, but I don't think George fighting Kamaru Usman for the welterweight strap is that likely because, like I had just stated, it's not that monumental. I mean, being a 3-time welterweight champ is a big deal, but I just don't see him coming back and fighting Kamaru Usman as his first comeback fight. Who knows if he'll come back, fight once, and then be gone for 3 years again. He stated on the Joe Rogan podcast that he's not going to be fighting into his 40s, so we'll see how that goes, but that's my number 3 spot, challenging Kamaru Usman for the welterweight strap. So for my second pick, it was just something that I kind of thought of at the top of my head, something that I'd like to see that I haven't heard many people say, and that's fight Tyron Woodley for kind of like a tune-up bout. So I know the word tune-up when it comes to UFC. I know in boxing, it's a very real thing. It's very possible. It happens all the time to people that come back from injuries, or with Mike Tyson, he went to prison. He came back and fought again and took some years off his prime, but there's not really such thing as a tune-up bout in the UFC as far as I'm concerned. Every single person in the UFC, besides CM Punk when he was in the UFC, they can fight, they can hurt, and they could possibly kill people and maim you. So there's no such thing as a tune-up bout. I mean, it's possible if someone comes back as the number 1 contender fighting 15th ranked guy, he could be seen as a tune-up bout, but it's MMA. It's like football. Any given Sunday, any given Saturday in this sense, in this sport. But anything can happen, and there's no such thing as a tune-up bout. But I would love to see GSP come back and fight Tyron Woodley because I know it's in the welterweight division, and I don't know him personally. I haven't talked to him, but I'm pretty sure GSP is looking for a Tyron. He's looking to make a splash in the lightweight division and challenge Khabib or Tony, whoever wins that fight. But everyone had been wanting to see Tyron Woodley fight GSP for a long time because Tyron Woodley, a lot of people consider him to be the greatest welterweight of all time, which I think is a slap in the face because GSP is the greatest, not only the greatest welterweight of all time, he is the greatest martial artist, the greatest fighter. He is ahead of everybody's time Yeah, in today's game, he would still come in and he would give everyone a run for their money, no matter what. From Tyron Woodley, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal, Khabib, Conor, Tony Ferguson, any of those people he's been linked up with, having a bout with, he would give them a run for their money. And I'm not a big fan of Tyron Woodley. He was an absolutely phenomenal fighter, and I give him props. I used to look down on him for not focusing so much on the fight game, but he's starting to get into his mid-30s, I believe, and a lot of fighters will hold on too long and not have a plan after leaving fighting, or they'll leave fighting and then try to come up with the plan and they start running out of money. You see it with BJ Penn. It's something really, really sad to see. So I'm happy for him exploring other avenues and trying to find something to supplement and replace fighting, because, I'm not sure if he has a family, if he has a daughter, a wife, but even if he's single, he deserves to have a life after fighting. And that being said, I think his lack of focus would be his downfall. And I truly think on any given day, GSP, just seeing videos of him training and hearing things from his trainer, I know trainers are supposed to speak highly of their fighters no matter what, but I think GSP could beat anybody on any given day. He's that talented. He's that dedicated. He's that smart. His book of tricks, his arsenal is endless. He's probably learning something as we speak right now, learning something new. But that being said, bout with Tyron Woodley as a quote-unquote tune-up bout would be something that I would like to see and I would welcome. Coming to my number one spot, something that I shouldn't really get any credit for, because everybody has wanted this for a long time. I've wanted it since before it became a big deal, a big thing that everybody has talked about, but I honestly want to see Khabib lose, and I think his best chance of losing is against Tony Ferguson right now, because Tony Ferguson is someone he's actually booked against, and Lord help that match. I really hope they both make weight. I hope they both don't get injured, and I hope they both make it into the ring, touch gloves. They're not going to touch gloves, and then fight. And that being said, I've been wanting to see Khabib lose for a long time. Not a big fan of Khabib, and I've stated it before, and this isn't a podcast about Khabib, so I won't go into it that much, but I would like to see GSP fight the Khabib or Tony Ferguson winner. I know the way it's looking for the UFC, for Dana White, Dana White's not looking to wait on GSP. He's trying to book Conor 155 title shot next, and Conor's not going to wait on that fight. He's probably going to fight again, and then whenever the Khabib-Tony winner is rested up and ready to fight again, Conor will get that shot. But I still would love to see GSP go in and fight the winner. I'm actually, when they first announced UFC 249, I really was just all gunning for Tony Ferguson, but I really think this is going to be a battle, a war of attrition, and in my next podcast, I'll be talking about that matchup, but a little bit more, and I just really would love to see GSP climb another milestone, further cement his spot on the MMA Mount Rushmore, the Mount Rushmore of the UFC, or just of MMA, because there's been some legends that didn't make a huge splash in the UFC or at all that contributed to MMA a lot, but I would love to see GSP fight, specifically more so Khabib than Tony Ferguson, but just to see him climb the ranks again, make that huge walk, hike up Mount Everest, and fight someone as talented as Khabib, someone who is more a wrestler like GSP, but GSP is also a very underrated striker. He embodies the word mixed martial artist, because he could box anybody, but he can wrestle anybody. I think Khabib has more of a smothering style than GSP. GSP just has almost near unstoppable takedowns and ground and pound, and I just think it would be a very interesting match and a tough match for both guys. But to wrap that up, the three GSP opponents I would like to see if and when he comes back is number 3, Kamaru Usman for the welterweight title, number 2, Tyron Woodley for a quote-unquote tune-up bout, and number 1, the Khabib-Tony Ferguson winner. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Zen Dependently Minded. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this content as much as I am. I'm going to continue to keep podcasting, and we'll see where this goes. And don't forget, the world is in our hands. Let's do something with it.